Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Well, the die has been cast. We now know that September 3 will be the date for the next general election. The Prime Minister announcing the date in front of a massive crowd at halfway tree on Sunday. So, it's a case of the JLP now showing their hand. The PNP say they have been ready for some time. They won't be caught unawares, unprepared by this announcement, and they say they are ready to go. We get two sides of the political coin. What next in the campaign for both the JLP and Team PNP as we sprint to September 3, the date when all argument will be settled. It's lead story, the Monday edition. Let's start the show. There comes a time when every political argument has a settlement. That settlement can either be natural or it can be via a process where people determine who is ultimately right and who's ultimately wrong. And on September 3, Jamaicans are going to go to the ballot to select their government for the next 5 years. Sunday, the JLP pulled out their core support in huge numbers to halfway tree to hear the Prime Minister announce September 3 as the date for the next general election. In case you missed it, we have this for you.
Halfway tree awash in a sea of green Sunday evening, the Jamaica Labour Party JLP transformed the usually busy commercial area into a pulsing stage of music, speeches and political fervor. JLP leader and Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness announced a September 3 date for electors to head to the polls, with nomination day set for next Monday, August 18. But the night had more headlines to deliver.
Come September, rather, when the new school term starts, we will give free transportation to all school children, from September to October. And this will also include all tertiary students with ID will be able to utilize the JUT services free of cost for 2 months.
Underscoring education as a cornerstone of national development, Dr. Holness revealed additional plans for students.
That if you are a tertiary student and you are doing well in school, you maintain a grade point average of 2.5 or higher, you can apply to the Student Loan Bureau to have your interest rate reduced. So how you get a benefit and give everybody the benefit? Well, one thing you can do, which is what we are now currently examining, is to extend the payment period for the student loan, which will reduce the monthly payments that people would pay.
And the announcements didn't stop there. The Riverton City Dump, which is the largest solid waste disposal site in the country and has been in use for decades, will see a major decommission. This, Dr. Holness says, to accommodate a complete makeover of Riverton City.
We will build a new sanitary landfill. We have already identified where that will be, and we have done the work on that. We will work with the communities that are in and around Riverton City, and eventually Riverton City will become the next frontier for economic development in Kingston.
He also noted plans to build a new plant that will transform waste into energy. Further, the Prime Minister and the JLP leader reiterated his intention to provide a 50% National Water Commission amnesty for micro, small and medium enterprises. And the night didn't end without Dr. Honest driving home his key message.
We take the resources and we make them more. We are good stewards. And we ask you, the people, the masters, to make a judgment, to make a choice on who will steward your affairs.
In the meantime, the People's National Party, PNP, has announced that their mass rally, which was initially scheduled for yesterday in Crossroads, has now been set for this Saturday, August 16. With this, the countdown to the big day, September 3, is officially on. I'm Harriet, CVM News.
Yeah, so halfway through you had to be there to drink in the crowd. I have the distinction of being there in 2016 when Mrs. Sims Miller called it in halfway tree, and I was lost in a sea of comrades everywhere you looked, orange shirts. And I can tell you that on Sunday at the inside halfway tree, man, the Labourites came and they came out in force numbers that I can't even begin to describe. But it's not about the comparison of the crowd sizes. That's for the birds. I have with me Raymond Price, senior member of the PNP's communication apparatus, and properly, substantively, the man looking to represent the party in East Central St. Catherine. I am hoping that I'll be joined by the JLP's campaign, the director of the JLP's national campaign, Dr. Chris Tufton, in short order. Raymond, I will just greet you and tell you that we're going to go to the break, and then we come back and go right into it. There we go. All right, this is Lead Story, the Monday edition.
Save when you charge your electric vehicle with JPS. It's even more affordable than gas. Our Charge and Go network offers the fastest electric vehicle chargers, so you can power up in as little as 30 minutes. With over 39 charging points island-wide, you'll always find a convenient place to shop, eat, work, or relax while you recharge. The Charge Lab app and Charge and Go RFID card make it easy to pay and track your charge right from your phone. Start charge. Learn more at jpsco.com/charge and go.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Welcome back to Lead Story on this Monday. So Raymond Price is in the house. Substantively, Raymond, I should ask you about the PNP's big event on Tuesday, which is the manifesto launch. I'll come to that, I promise you. I'll give you time. But just for you to react to what the Labourites did in halfway tree on Sunday.
As expected, when you are at this close to the announcement of or the actual holding of an election, then something would be wrong if a party in government for 9 years could not bring what they brought yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think the cloud over the event, and no pun intended because it had, there was rain in Kingston, is the fact that it was an anticlimax. The General Secretary of the PNP had named the nomination day and election day 24 hours prior when we were out in Port Antonio. It's regrettable, I think, though, that you're playing domino, you call it your own game, that you end up with just about anybody being able to call the election for you. That is the piece de resistance of a Westminster Prime Minister in the Caribbean, to be able to name the election date. But having said all of that, I take you at your word. You were there in 2016 and you were there last night. The party that had the crowd in 2016 didn't have the crowd going up Duke Street.
No.
So let's see. I'll leave it there.
You say though, and I thought to myself, you know what, let it slide. But let me take you up on it, because isn't it a fact that given the communication from the local government minister to the Kingston mayor about the 4 by-elections in the corporate area, which are to run concurrently with the election, the general election, on September 3, then it would have been easy to map the date based on that definitive communication from Desmond McKenzie to Andrew Swaby.
In serious moments.
And then the PNP would have known.
In serious moments like these, who really listens to Desmond?
You say it.
You know.
Yes, I hear you on that.
Yeah.
But good. So the optics game, Raymond, you know, in politics is very important. People like to say that size doesn't matter. But size does matter when it is that you're trying to attract your core support. And I know that as a man on the other side, and your raison d'etre as a politician is to not have the JLP in power, but to have the PNP in power. The core support that the Laborites were able to pull on Sunday, it won't do you no harm to admit that it was very impressive to the eye.
I have no problem admitting that, especially because while they were gathered in Halfway Tree, I was present in Newlands in East Central St. Catherine, which is a usual reservoir from which they mobilize for big events. And the mobilization there was anemic. There wasn't even mobilization in the center of Gregory Park. Persons from Gregory Park desirous of going would have had to make their way to Newland to get on the buses, which started filling up in Nago's Head. So my primary raison d'etre for the People's National Party is to bring East Central St. Catherine into the column of the PNP. So the crowd in Halfway Tree was big, but not with any contribution from East Central St. Catherine. So in moments like these, each of us as candidates are focused on bringing home our seats. And that is one seat that we're bringing home.
Wholeness and his message on Sunday, Raymond. The things that he has already said, the things that he reinforced on Sunday, and then the sweet, because you know every prime minister has to come with something on a moment like that. So he said, look, tertiary students ride free on state-owned JUTC buses for 2 months. Then he said that, look, dangling something for those in Western St. Andrew, Riverton, which is Tony Hilton's backyard.
Yes.
And he had some other things that he sprinkled on the table. Do you think that on messaging, the PNP has to be very particular and precise given the quality of the JLP's messaging, or you don't think the government's messaging is of high quality at all?
I wouldn't have used those examples you used because the announcements regarding communities surrounding Riverton City, those announcements are electorally mute. There's no way that's going to switch Western St. Andrew to the column of the Jamaica Labour Party. So that fell on deaf ears in a practical election day manifestation. The sprinkling regarding tertiary students riding free. There was a time when tertiary students not only rode free on JOS, but rode free into their faculties, into their programs of study, into their degree programs. When tertiary education in this country, under the Michael Manley administration of the 1970s, was totally free. Not 2 months. See one little 2-month carrot here, you're going to ride.
But that was what Manley did. Is Golding poised to do something similar? Is the point that you'd have to make to complete the circle on that point?
No problem, and I can complete that circle because yesterday as well, in Christian Penn, I met a Jamaica College student who is performing admirably, and he will be the first of his family to go to do medicine at the University of the West Indies. So he's the first that will get into a tertiary institution. And when Mark Golding is Prime Minister, his tuition would be totally free for the first in family, which is longer than 2 months free ride on a bus from Halfway Tree up to Papine. Come on, bro. I thought you would have come with something better.
Saturday, the comrades are set to take over Crossroads.
Yes.
The word on the ground is, depending on where you listen, and the word on the ground doesn't have to come from one source. the ground has many.
No, when you tell me what you hear
avenues.
on the ground, me write it down, you know.
Here you know. They say
sources.
that the PNP was certain to lose the optics war had it gone ahead with its Crossroads meeting on Sunday, which is why it left the space empty for the Labourites to put on a show, knowing that in a show of force, that they'd come out on the small end.
And I know you're being metaphorical,
yes.
Optics war, show of force.
For sure.
But in a very practical way, our party leader and the General Secretary looked on the potential for war and force. Even if, for example, I were to have brought people from East Central St. Catherine to support the presentation of candidates in Kingston and St. Andrew, we would have been bringing people on buses from communities simultaneously and driving a similar route. So for avoidance of any kind of fisticuffs, which, by the way, they didn't avoid among their own crowd.
But the police, I'll come back on that, because there was a report that there was a fight and the police says no. So there you go. We take a break. When we come back, we'll hear from the JLP's campaign director, national campaign director, Dr. Chris Tufton.
Jamaica is paving the way to becoming a republic, or future or choice. The time by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is
6:45.
You know what's sweet? You know what's the New Pack Sweet Living Promotion? Win great prizes. Send in 5 New Pack labels. Fill out the tagline. New Pack, more than just value. Time for live sweet. Enter the New Pack Sweet Living Promotion, July 13th to September 6th. See the press for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
The Bureau of Standards Jamaica is your conformance testing partner with over 54 years of serving Jamaican businesses. Our world-class lab testing services ensure the safety of your food and commodities that you take to market. We are positioned as a business enabler, driving business development, competitiveness, trade, and ensuring consumer safety. We have 5 times the capacity to test over other local labs, plus 10 labs with accredited tests and calibration. We set the standard that promotes safety to consumers in a number of industries, including food processing, agriculture, and construction, having tested over 57,000 products on average annually and growing.
Hi, my name is Welton Gooden, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards. Let us take your products from lab to market.
From politics to global events, from social issues to breaking news, Lead Story Prime dives deeper, cuts through the noise, and uncovers the stories that shape your world. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Lead Story Prime with me, George Davis, for an hour of incisive analysis, expert interviews, and unparalleled coverage of the issues you care about. Lead Story Prime, your front row seat to the most compelling discussions. Lead Story Prime, where the truth comes first. Only on CVM TV. Come back, just enough time to wrap with Raymond Price. Raymond, the PNP's manifesto touches road tomorrow, Tuesday, and insofar as your own fortunes are concerned in East Central St. Catherine, tie up all of those 2 points for me in 60 seconds.
Well, the country has been asking for the manifesto, and we are happy that tomorrow we'll be able to deliver that so that they can scrutinize for themselves what is at offer. In regards to East Central St. Catherine, I'm taught to be cautious. So, and I'm naturally conservative. And there is a thin line between confidence and complacency. I'm not crossing that line. I am confident. We have been on the ground for some time with respect to strengthening our machinery. We know where the voters are. We are now fine-tuning what time during the day to get them and how to bring them logistically to the respective polling stations and to ace it on the day.
Here you are. Thank you very much. All the best. I'm sure we'll talk again before Election Day. All right, Raymond Price. Turning now to the JLP's campaign director, national campaign director, Dr. Chris Tufton. Dr. Tufton, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you after that show of force in Halfway Tree on Sunday?
I'm good. It's a lot of energy that has come out of that event, and it means that we're all even more energized.
What is this phase of the JLP's campaign now going to look like? The date is announced, a nomination Monday. What phase do you transition into from here?
Well, there's a lot more clarity and I think the country deserves that in terms of when they will be, given the opportunity to express their choice. So that's very important for us. There was a lot of speculation, and with speculation comes a lot of uncertainty and at certain levels of instability. So that's important. Secondly, though, it's really making a case to support the Jamaica Labour Party going into the election. We have started that case, and we will build on that. There's a lot of different stages that will be involved, and just preparing for the day when we will do what is necessary to get our voters out and to secure the third term.
Insofar as messaging is concerned, Dr. Tufton, the government has been messaging really heavily over the past several weeks. Is there a risk of message fatigue in deep stretch in this race to September 3?
Well, I think the country, based on our democracy, understands that at this stage of the democratic cycle, there is going to be a lot of messaging on all sides. So I don't think we have done more than others. I think we're a lot more pointed, a lot more targeted, and that we have outlined and exposed the substance of what we have done in the last 9+ years, which I think we had to do. I think that the message also is targeted, so not everyone will receive the same aspects of the message, and we're careful to do that. So on the whole, I think it's a necessary process, and I think it's necessary for the voter to know or to be reminded as to what we represent. And so we don't think it is too much. We think it's actually appropriate.
The local government elections, Dr. Tufton, saw the JLP win by, in horse racing terms, the flare of a nostril. Do you detect a difference in the workings of the party machinery this time compared to pre-February 2024 when you went into that local government poll?
Right. Well, the process is always going to be dynamic, so you learn with every event. So there are certainly aspects of the last elections where you have to pull the ideas, having done your assessment to determine what you may want to do differently or reinforce what you think you have done correctly. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's kind of expected that you're going to improve on the areas that you think you may not have done as well. It could have been a messaging issue, it could have been organizational, it could have been candidacy, and there are different circumstances. So we have engaged all of those different variables, and we think we have an appropriate mix now to take to the public, and we're fairly confident that the public will respond positively.
What determines where a party leader / prime minister goes, Dr. Tufton, in this time? Because every candidate, well, not every, but many candidates would, as they say on the streets in Jamaica, want a strength, want that little boost from the leader. And I know that there have been constituency conferences, but there are still some who need that presence to help to draw people closer to them. How does a man like yourself and your team determine where the prime minister goes in these last few days?
There's always an ongoing assessment of different geographic areas of the culture or the subculture within particular areas, the concerns around the population in those areas, and the candidates and what they need to be bolstered or shored up so that they offer themselves their best possible strategy. So it really is contextual, and it's based on an assessment of what is happening. And it determines the movement, whether of the leader or other leaders, based on that assessment. And we've engaged in a process of doing that assessment. It's an ongoing process, and that helps to determine where we go and what messaging we carry where we go.
One of the things I've heard, Dr. Tufton, and it's funny, I've heard this from 3 members of the diaspora, 3 different parts of North America, 2 in the US, 1 in Canada, was that they felt that the campaign, of course, we vote prime ministerial in this country, but they felt that there needed to be somebody else doing some of the heavy lifting that Holness certainly has taken on in the past several weeks. In your role as National Campaign Director, are you going to share that burden now? That's if, of course, you agree with the views of those 3 diasporans.
Well, The party leader, it is customary, provides the overarching guidance and leadership, and the Prime Minister and party leader has been doing a good job at carrying that burden which the leader has to carry. But he works with a team. Has always said that. And that team shoulders different aspects of what needs to be done. As you get to an election, then that burden increases, both on him because there's a lot of expectation, and of course on the rest of us. My role is to help with the coordination and the strategic thinking around how we proceed to articulate and enhance what we represent to people, and hopefully to get them to respond in a positive way. So the long short of it is that it is a team approach, but we certainly don't intend to water down or attempt to water down his role, because his role is very, very important. But we are hoping to project that we work as a team. It's not a one-man show.
Last question, Dr. Tufton. If it is that the government has done well, as it says it has done, and as is articulated in that book with 200 plus achievements, why then is there this feeling that this election is on a knife's edge?
Well, look at it this way. I mean, I'm not predicting any close election. I am working hard. We all are, to ensure that we get the maximum return on our efforts, because we think we have done the work. Now, there's an important issue to inform, to remind, to educate in some instances, because sometimes when you're in office for such a long time, there's an incumbency fatigue that is natural, where sometimes we do not recall the reference point or the point at which the new government came in, what was the case before, what it is now. And people